Essen Diary Part 5. Quite surprised this is Part 5. It kind of feels like the third part, but no, it is. It's Friday today. Is it Friday?
It's Friday.
It's Friday. This week has been a complete mess of losing track of what day of the week it actually is. Even though I am wearing my Friday socks today, I keep forgetting that it is actually Friday. I'm also feeling a little bit, I'll say drunk tonight. I've had one beer. I'm not drunk, but I've spent the last few hours downstairs in the bar area, with people chatting and everything else. And kind of feel a bit like I'm on a buzz. I did only have one beer. I don't know whether somebody put something in that beer or not, but I just feel a bit on a high at the moment. It's been a really good day. Woke up this morning, felt awful as usual. Felt like I didn't sleep that well, but I think I must have slept a bit better last night because I think I've had I was just moving. Felt like I've had a bit of a better day today. Did the normal demos this morning, but for those of you that watched the video log yesterday, you'll know that the demos of Frosthaven that I ran yesterday, everybody who played in those demos had already played Gloomhaven, and they already knew how to play Gloomhaven. So it was a case of just showing them the new stuff, running them through the characters, facilitating the demo. And today I ran 3 demos again, but in 2 of those demos, there was one person who hadn't played Gloomhaven. And that's where I went into my element of actually teaching them how to play the game. And the challenge is, with a game like Frosthaven, is, right, this is a demo of the game. The whole demo is only going to last an hour. I need to get across to them the most important pieces of information about what this game is and how this game plays within an hour, and actually play a game as well. And that's what I'm good at, and that's what I'm really passionate about doing. And in 2 of the games today, I had, as I say, one player who hadn't played anything, and that was great for me. So did that. And then this afternoon, before any of you start asking, what games have I played today? What's the best game of the show? And all of that lot, I have played 0 games today. So I'm really sorry. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, we'll tune in and watch Paul and we'll find out what games he's been playing and things like that. I've played no games today whatsoever. So this afternoon was all about going around, seeing publishers and picking up more games, saying hello to people, and then loading everything into Luke's car, and then transferring 9 bags of games from Luke's car to Nilsson and Vashti's car for them to take home with me. And then coming back to the hotel, having food, and then just, as I say, spending the last few hours having a really, really good time just chatting about games and other stuff. I don't really have much to tell you, I'm afraid. I'm trying to think. I mean, if you've got any questions for me, then let me know. But as I say, I haven't really played any games today, so I can't really tell you anything about that. I can tell you about some of the games that I've picked up, which will be covered on the channel at some point in the next few months. And let's try and remember. So one of the things that I did today is I went by the Do It Games booth, and I had a chat with them about a game called Pole Position. Now, I've been having email discussions with them for the last couple of weeks, and they approached me, and they've got this game that they're going on Kickstarter with in November, and it's called Pole Position, and as you might expect, it's a Formula 1 game. And from the little bits that I found out about it, as a Formula 1 fan myself, this game looked really interesting. It was the most Formula 1 game that I've seen. It has DRS, it has different tyres, it has all of the things that is in modern Formula 1 in a board game. I didn't really know anything about the mechanisms of the game. All I know is that it was designed by a Formula 1 fan to sort of represent modern Formula 1. So I was instantly excited about it. And we've been having a few discussions over email over the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, it looked like it wasn't going to get covered on the channel. Mainly because they wanted me to... I'd arranged a date when I was going to do it for, and I'd booked it into my calendar, but then they wanted to bring that forward, and I wasn't able to bring it forward. So yeah, unfortunately, it looked like I wasn't going to be able to cover it on the channel. Anyway, I said, you're going to be at Essen, I'll swing by the booth, I'll say hi. So I went by the booth, I saw the game, I looked at the game, I saw the physical setup of the game and everything else, And then I had a good chat with them. And obviously there's a language issue with speaking to people who are not native English speakers. So I explained to them why I wasn't able to do the video in time. And the confusion was that they were going to be going live on Kickstarter on the 28th of November. And I was going to be doing a live playthrough on the 25th of November. Now, for me, that seemed like a good thing to do. I do the live playthrough a few days before the game goes on Kickstarter. I do the playthrough live on the channel, people watch it, and I say, and this game's going on Kickstarter in 3 days' time. If you're interested, you can go and back it. I thought that was a good thing. But they wanted me to bring forward the video for about 3 weeks earlier, and that's not something I was able to do. So I had a chat with them today, and I showed them my diary, and I said, so why don't you want me to do it on the 25th? What's wrong with that? And I assumed that they were bringing forward the Kickstarter, and they said, no, we're going live on the 28th of November. And I said, well, why can't I do the video on the day that I originally planned it? And I explained to them that I think that would be a good idea, and they said, okay, we agree, that is a good plan. So the bottom line is, I have a copy of Pole Position. I have a prototype copy of Pole Position. It's in the bag, it's in the car, and it's going to get covered on the channel. End of November, I'm going to be covering that. And I don't know, I haven't read the rulebook for it yet, but I'm actually quite excited about it, because regular viewers of mine will know that over the last 10, 15 years, I have tried many different Formula One style racing games, and I've never found one that ticks all of the boxes. The closest one that I found, which was really enjoyable, was Championship Formula Racing, which is really good. Really like the game. It's not very well known, but it can be a bit long. Like a lot of these Formula One games, it can be a bit long. This one seems to be relatively short. So yeah, we'll see. So that's a game I picked up today that I'm quite excited to cover. Other games that I picked up today, I picked up 2 copies of Flamecraft. One copy for me, which is going to be entered into the GridCon library. Flamecraft is getting a huge amount of buzz at the moment from Lucky Duck Games. Don't know that much about it other than it looks gorgeous. Everybody's saying it's good. It's on a lot of people's hot lists. The people who've played it say it's good. And yeah, it sounds great. And I'm friends with the people at Lucky Duck Games, so they've given me 2 copies of the game. One for the GridCon library and for me, and another one for the GridCon raffle. So a lot of people today, a lot of publishers today have been giving me games for the raffle. I've also brought 2 copies of the Palaces of Carrera home. Again, one for me and one for the GridCon raffle. So there's a huge amount of games that I'm bringing back from Essen, which are just specifically for the GridCon raffle. What else did I pick up today? I've taken all of the photos of them, but the photos are on my phone and I don't have my phone with me. So yeah, there's a few other games that I've picked up today. And there's a few other games that I still need to pick up tomorrow. But as I'm bringing all of these games back with me, I'm going through what I went through last year. And last year, when I came back from Essen, I actually wanted to just not do any paid work. I mean, obviously, I need to do the paid work in order to pay the bills and all of that stuff. But I'm so excited about all of these new games that I'm bringing back with me that I kind of wish that I didn't have any work planned for the next 4 weeks. And I could just come back from Essen and just play through these games and just keep inviting people around and doing live streams and play through as many of these games as I could. I'd love to do that. Unfortunately, I have a Frosthaven how to play video, which needs to be filmed and edited, which is going to take me a very, very long time. But maybe next year, maybe I might do that next year, is actually just book out, the 2 or 3 weeks after Essen and say, I'm not taking on any work. And all I'm going to do is just cover as many of the new games that I've brought back from Essen. Because the sad reality is that I've still got games from last year's Essen that I haven't played yet. And that makes me feel bad for a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm a gamer and I'm excited about these games. I was excited about them then, and I haven't had a chance to cover them. But also from a publisher's point of view, if that publisher has given me a copy of the game in order for me to play, try, talk about and everything else, and it's still sat there in shrink, well, that's not fair. That's not fair on the publisher either. So yeah, it's not a good feeling bringing games back and not being able to cover them. 2 other games that I've picked up today from Capstone Games. I've picked up a copy of Rise and I've picked up a copy of Fire and Stone Siege of Vienna. I know a little bit about these games, but generally speaking, Capstone Games do really good quality games that I'm usually interested in. So I've brought copies of both games back with me. They will be in the GridCon library. But I might be covering them on the channel as well. I'm going to have a discussion with Clay from Capstone Games after Essen to see if he's interested in sponsoring any videos for me to cover either of those games on the channel. So I'm curious to know what you think about this. The two games are Rise and the other one is Fire and Stone. If either of those games are of interest to you and you would like to see them covered on the channel, let me know. Leave me a comment in the video description of what you think. If you think either, because I don't know that much about them, but if you think they are a good fit for the channel, or which one you would like to see, let me know, because ultimately Clay might say, we're happy to sponsor one of those videos. You pick which one. He kind of said that today, but I didn't feel comfortable in answering that question when I don't actually know much about the game. So if there is a game that either of those that you'd prefer to see on the channel, then let me know. And I'm going to try and get that scheduled in for the end of November as well. So pretty much all of my Fridays for the rest of October, and I think pretty much for the rest of November, are already booked out with games that I'm going to be covering on the channel already. And that still leaves Atiwa, Agricola 15th Anniversary Edition, potentially even Flamecraft. I don't have Flamecraft booked in. Palaces of Carrera, I don't have that booked in either. So yeah, there's so many games that I'm bringing back with me that I don't have any time scheduled to actually cover them, learn them, play them, and everything else. Yeah, so that's that. Anyway, what's happening tomorrow? Tomorrow, Saturday. Saturday's going to be slightly different from today, but only slightly. I'm going to be demoing Frosthaven again in the morning. I'm going to be doing three more demos of Frosthaven in the morning. And then I'm going to be going to the meet and greet. So if you are at Essen Spiel and you want to come by and say hi, obviously you can come by and say hi to me while I'm demoing Frosthaven, but I'm demoing Frosthaven. I'm working. It's not, I can say hi, but I can't really sort of take time away from doing the demos to actually chat to people. But there is a meet and greet event tomorrow. And I'm going to be at that from probably about 2 o'clock, maybe 2:30. And I'm probably going to stick around for about an hour to an hour and a half. And it is, if you want to know anything about it, the best thing I can say is just Google Essen Spiel meet and greet, because that's, every time I can't remember what website it is, that's what I do. And you will find details on there of where it is. And I need to do that tomorrow because I don't actually know where it is. I think it's adjacent to Hall 3, but basically there's a whole bunch of content creators. There's about 10 English-speaking content creators who are going to be there. Mike from Really Steady Play is going to be there. I think Monique and Naveen are going to be there. I think Stella's going to be there. There's a whole bunch of other people there. And there's about 50 German-speaking content creators as well. So it's very much, there's going to be a high proportion of German-speaking content creators. Didn't realise there was that many, but yeah, there's lots and lots of them. And basically, it's a way that I'm going to be there at that time. And if you are there as well and you want to come and see me, then that's where you can come and see me. So as I say, if you're interested, I'll be there from about 2:30 for probably an hour to an hour and a half. And if you want to know where it is, just search for Essen Meet and Greet event. And you'll see my Gaming Rules logo on that page. I don't think I have anything else to tell you. I mean, there's probably some other games that I picked up today that I can't remember. Games that I have yet to pick up. Scout. I haven't picked up my copy of Scout yet from Oink Games. So that's on the list. I need to swing by their booth and pick that up. Oh, another thing I've picked up today. I went by the Eagle Griffin booth and there was, I had a chat with Randall from Eagle Griffin Games, and he said, would you like a signed copy of Weather Machine to give away at the GridCon raffle? And I said to him, well, I'm not going to say no to that, am I? So he got a copy of Weather Machine off the shelf. He took it outside where Vittel was busy demoing Weather Machine. He got Vittel to sign it. He's given it back to me. And it's another game for the GridCon raffle. I mean, the GridCon raffle is going to be insane. It's a small convention. It's 300 people. That's all it is. And we have got some insane prizes. A signed copy of Weather Machine. I don't know what that's valued at, $130. Mind Clash Games have given me a copy of Perseverance Deluxe Edition with the Sun-Dropped Minis. That I've got 2 copies of Cloudspire from Chip Theory Games. It blows my mind how many publishers have been very, very generous There's another little game that's going to be in the raffle as well called Frosthaven. So, yeah, Sir Falafair Games have said if you want a copy of Frosthaven for the GridCon raffle, then you can have a copy of Frosthaven. And it's like, it's just insane. So what will be interesting, and I'm going to do this. I say I'm going to do this. I'm going to give the task to somebody else. I'm going to put together an Excel spreadsheet or just a list of all of the games that are in the GridCon raffle, and I'm going to get somebody to go through and put the actual sort of MSRP of those games, and just see what the value of all of the games that we're giving away in the raffle is, because it's going to be a lot of money, and I'm very excited about it. I mean, GridCon is still 4 weeks away. It's just, I'm getting really excited about it now. One of the things that I did want to talk about tonight is what I've been doing for the last few hours and why I'm on a bit of a high at the moment. It's not because I've been drinking a lot of alcohol. I've had one beer. That's all I've had. But tonight has been really, really enjoyable. I've been sat in the bar area of the hotel, just chatting. And that might not sound very much, but as somebody who spent most of my time growing up, and when I went to college, and when I started working, when I was 18, when I got my first job, and then all of the jobs that I went through, I've never felt comfortable in social situations. And that's because I don't really fit in. So at college, everybody was going out drinking and having fun and doing these things, and I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, right? I've always been a geek, I've always been a nerd, and I don't do that thing that other people do. I just sort of stay at home and watch Star Trek and play Dungeons and Dragons and everything else. And then when I got my first job when I was 18, I was completely out of my depth. I was spending time every day in a job with people talking about football and beer and all of these things, and I'm like, I cannot join in this conversation. I have no reference point for any of this whatsoever, and that pretty much persists for my entire life. And even now, if I find myself in a social situation with people who are not gamers, I feel uncomfortable. I still feel uncomfortable to this day. And the reason why I'm saying this is the last 3 hours have been amazing, because I have spent time in a social situation where we haven't been playing a game. We've been talking about games, but I feel at home and I feel relaxed, and I feel like I'm talking to people, and I feel like I fit in. And I'm sure there's other people who feel the same way. And if you do, let me know, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who doesn't feel comfortable outside of their comfort zone. And my comfort zone is board games. My comfort zone has always been board games, and it probably always will be board games. And it's just nice to actually be in a social situation and not constantly be biting my nails or picking or anything like that, because I feel so uncomfortable about where I am. And I haven't felt that tonight. It's just been really, really enjoyable. Anyway, right, now, at this point yesterday, loads and loads of people were asking loads and loads of questions, and Julian was shouting those questions at me. Has anybody been asking any questions? We have some questions.
There are some. Let me scroll back and get you some earlier.
Sure.
I did want to say, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
About the board game thing. It's real nice just being able to talk about people about a common interest that you know a lot about.
That's the thing. It's a common interest that is my specialist area of knowledge. You know, I could literally talk for weeks non-stop about things in the hobby, because it is my specialist area, and it's nice to feel comfortable about an area that you took to. Yeah, there's a few people in the chat saying they feel the same. I didn't think I was on my own. No, I can't be on my own with this.
No.
So yeah, so that's good. I think Keith was in the chat. Was Keith in the chat? Yes, Keith's in the chat. So today, Keith, funny story. I met with a new guy who's working for Asmodee. A guy called Brendan, who's recently got a job working at Asmodee, and we were chatting away. And Brendan was saying, "Oh yeah, my counterpart, Joe, who does all of this stuff, and you know Joe." And I said, "Oh yeah, I know Joe," and it's because I know a Joe that works at Asmodee. So I assumed he was talking about a guy called Joe Browns. And he was saying blah, 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 blah. And then he said, and she, something, something, something. And I said, hang on a minute. That can't be the same Joe that I'm talking about, because the Joe that I'm talking about isn't female. It's a guy. And he said, oh, no, it's Joe Shapley. And I was like, Okay, well, I've never actually met Joe Shappy, but I know her dad. And he was like, what? I said, yeah, her dad's one of my Patreon supporters, and I've known Keith for years. And it was just this funny situation that I was having a chat with my contact at Asmodee, and he was like, oh, do you know Joe? And I was like, no, but I know her dad. And it was just funny. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. So, any other questions or comments?
One was whether you'd seen Chip Theory.
Yes, I have seen Chip Theory games. I went to see them on the Wednesday as they were setting up the booth. They've got a really, really impressive booth. And Mark Dainty from Not Board Gaming has been doing some negotiation with Chip Theory Games about specifically things related to GridCon and Hoplomachus Victorum. So, as I mentioned earlier on, Chip Theory Games have been very generous and they have given me 2 copies of Cloudspire to give away at GridCon. So, they've given me a code, and when I get back home, I need to use that code on their website, and it will basically, it's for 2 copies of Cloudspire with free shipping to the UK. So I will physically be getting 2 copies of Cloudspire, which will be given away at the GridCon raffle. I mean, I can't remember what the MSRP of Cloudspire is, but that's another big box game. Anyway, the other thing is that I'm due to do some coverage of Hoplomachus remastered, and Hoplomachus Victorum, and I've agreed this with them. And we were going to be doing it in November, December. Then there was all the problems with production, so we put that back. But Mark Dainty has been trying to persuade them to give me a copy of Hoplomachus Remastered and Hoplomachus Victorum from the stock that they have here, if they have any left on the Sunday. So I might actually be coming home with a copy of both Hoplomachus new games, which will be great, because what that means is when Chip Theory Games find out when backers are actually going to get their copy, they don't have to suddenly go, oh, and we need to get a copy to Paul, because the plan is that I will be creating videos for the game at the point when backers are starting to get their copy. So if I bring a copy back from Essen with me, it means tick, that box is done. And then whenever Chip Theory Games say, right, okay, we now know when backers are going to get their copy, it means I can then schedule in the thing. The other thing as well, for those people who are watching this who are coming to GridCon, Mark Dainty has very generously agreed to give up some of his time to basically teach Hoplomachus Remastered to anybody who wants to play it, which is really good of Mark. I mean, Mark is a little bit like me in that you might think, well, that's very good of him to give up his time teaching, teaching a game. But if he's like me, he loves doing it. He's not going to agree to do it if he doesn't love doing it. And what we've actually agreed, so this is a little bit of an exclusive, is that everybody who plays in a demo of Hoplomachus Remastered at GridCon will get a ticket. And at the end of the convention, one of those people will win a copy of Hoplomachus Remastered. Mark is going to give his copy of the game to somebody who plays it at GridCon, which is like, when Mark said that, I said, no, you're not doing that. That's too much. And he's like, no, I want to do this. So yeah, thank you very much to Mark for that. And yeah, if you're interested in Hoplomachus and you come into GridCon, then get a demo of it from Mark and you might win a copy of the game. I'm kind of hoping that nobody joins in a demo just to win a copy of the game to then sell it. Please don't do that. That's not good. Right, so yeah, that's Chip Theory Games.
Did you pick up some currywurst?
No, I did not. So traditionally, when I used to come to Essen 10, 15 years ago, we would leave the halls carrying lots and lots of heavy bags of games, and there would be a currywurst shop, which was sort of between Fitzpatrick's and the Hotel Duridet. The Hotel Duridet is no longer there. The currywurst shop is no longer there. And basically, my focus was so much on playing the games, I wanted to reduce the amount of time it was between leaving the halls and playing a game. And that basically meant stopping in at the currywurst place, buying some awfully cheap currywurst thing, and then going straight and playing games. But no, I haven't had a currywurst while I've been here. I've been basically eating at the restaurant in the hotel, which I don't normally do. I normally get food elsewhere. But the hotel food is actually pretty good. So I've had a couple of pizzas and I had a burger tonight. So yeah, food in the restaurant's good. No currywurst.
They cut us off for food right after yours. That's real unfortunate. Anyway,
Did they?
Yeah, and then I think someone else got food after. Anyway, unrelated. Did you pick up Discordia from Iron Games?
I did not. Ion as in I-O-N.
IRON. Iron.
Oh, Iron Games.
Yes.
Nope, I don't know anything about that. Discordia? Nope. I don't know anything about Discordia from Iron Games. I don't think it was mentioned in our live show on Saturday. If it was, I can't remember about it.
Is the Frosthaven demo based on final rules?
Yes and no. So when they gave me the Frosthaven demo scenario to play, they basically said, look, we don't have a printed scenario. Here's this nice 3D scenery and whatever. Here's some monsters. And you can just basically sort of do what you want. We'll have the characters starting here, then there's a first room, and then there's a second room, and that's it. Over the last couple of days, I have been tweaking that scenario, and I've actually got a little bit of a storyline now, and I've changed where people start, and I've got a chest, and there's something in that chest, and I've kind of been adding to the story as I've gone along. But there are a few things that are unique to Frosthaven that make the game different, and one of them is the loot tokens. So this morning I said, look, I kind of want people to actually get more of an idea of what Frosthaven is like. So I've actually grabbed out of one of the other copies the loot cards for the loot deck, because on Thursday when I was doing the demos, I was just using the coins and people were looting the coins and picking up the coins. Well, that's not how it works in Frosthaven. So today I've actually been using the proper loot tokens that you would use, and I've made a little loot deck, and I've said, look, whenever you get a loot token, you now get a card from the loot deck. So I've changed the demo that I'm doing to be more like Frosthaven, but it is using the final rules of the game. We are using the new tokens, we're using the brittle, and the changes to invisibility, and a few other things like that. So yeah, we're using the final rules.
One aside, and then it's going to be back to Frosthaven.
Yep.
Will you come to Australia?
Oh, I'd love to come to Australia. Yeah, I mean, Australia and New Zealand are places that I would love to go to for different reasons. I want to go to New Zealand to see Middle Earth, and Australia because it's one of those places that I've just always wanted to go to Australia. And Vicky, my partner, actually spent the first, I think from the age of 3 to about 7. If Vicky's in the chat, she'll correct me if I'm wrong. But her family sort of moved to Australia for her dad's work, and she lived there for a few years. And I'm guessing, I've never actually asked her this, but I'm guessing that she might like to go back and visit and something like that. It's just obviously it's a very long way, but yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. That would be cool. In fact, there is a. I don't know if you heard that. Apologies for that. The iPad fell down. There's a popular Australian-based podcast called The Board Game Barbecue, and I'm kind of friends with some of the people involved in that. And if you like podcasts, then check out The Board Game Barbecue. To be honest, if I went to Australia, I would probably be looking to go to an area where people from the board game barbecue are there, because it'd be really nice to meet up with them. So yeah, not ruling out Australia.
I'm going to give you these two together.
Sure.
Kind of related. So the first is, has demoing Frosthaven made you more and more excited to play it?
Yeah.
The second is, can you give us a quick overview of what has changed?
Yeah, I can give you a very quick overview. So am I more excited to play it? Yes. And the reason for that is, first of all, there's a few tweaks to the main rules. So I mentioned that they've tweaked the rules for invisibility. They've tweaked the rules for monster focus. There's a few new effects like brittle. And what's the opposite of brittle?
Bane?
No.
Ward.
The one that means you only take half damage from the ward.
Yeah.
So there's brittle, there's ward, there's bane. There's a few new effects and things like that. The new characters are fascinating. How Isaac comes up with all of these crazy ideas for these new characters and how they work, and they're all very special and they all work in different ways. So that's exciting on its own. But that is effectively just sort of, rules updates. The bit that gets me excited is what's called the Outpost Phase. And I think this is the biggest difference. Julian gets excited about the Outpost Phase as well. So in Gloomhaven, when you returned to town after an adventure, you would get your XP, you might level up, you might go to the shop, you'll get a city event, and you might donate to the church. I think that was it. In Frosthaven, you have this whole other immersive world. First of all, there's a calendar. So every time you go out on a scenario, you cross a week off the calendar, and inside that calendar, in the boxes, there are certain log entries. And And when you cross off a box with a log entry, you read a bit of the story. So as time goes on, as time progresses, you read up more and more of the story unlocks. And also there are certain events that can happen in the game where it will tell you to write a number in a box. So for example, you might say, oh, you meet somebody, you talk to them, you agree something, etc., etc. Write number 362 on the calendar in 3 weeks' time. And in 3 weeks' time, something's going to happen. So one of the things that I loved about Gloomhaven was the road events and the city events that made it feel like this immersive world. You know, you'll have a road event and it'll say, oh no, we had a city event, that was it. We had a city event, I'll never forget this. And the city event was somebody's brother had gone missing. And we could choose to accept, yes, okay, we'll go and look for your brother. And what we did is it basically said, shuffle card 43 into the road event deck. And we all knew what that meant is that at some point we're going to find the brother. And it really felt like there was this living, you know, breathing, immersive world. Frosthaven has exactly the same thing, but you know, more so because you've got the calendar with events that unlock. But also, another big change is that Frosthaven is not a city like Gloomhaven. Frosthaven is an outpost at the edge of the frontier. There's only a few buildings in it. It's a bit run down and there isn't really a wall. And one of the things that you're doing in the game is you're actually not just going out and doing adventures to get gold, but you're getting resources. You're bringing back wood and stone and all of these herbs and everything else, and you use them for crafting. Now, I love crafting in computer games, and you can do that in Frosthaven. So you can come back and you can use those 4 wood, 2 stone and whatever to build a building. You will unlock blueprints and then you can use the blueprints and you're actually sticking new buildings on the board. And you see the town of Frosthaven building, or the outpost of Frosthaven building up over time. There is no shop in Frosthaven at the start of the campaign. You can't just go shopping and buy anything because there isn't anything to buy. But there is a blacksmith. And you can go to the blacksmith and you can give him 2 metal and a wood and some leather and he'll make you an axe. So it all feels very, very sort of low tech compared to Gloomhaven. But as the campaign evolves, you will be constructing more buildings. The Frosthaven's going to get attacked. You can build up the city walls. There's a whole lot of other stuff going on. And these buildings that you construct in Frosthaven, they all have special abilities and rules. And you can visit each of those buildings during the Outpost phase. Somebody said to me today, they said, well, how long do you think the Outpost phase is going to last? Is it going to be like an hour? And I was thinking, no, it's not going to be an hour. It might be only 10 or 15 minutes. But that 10 or 15 minutes, and I'm just totally guessing here, I've not played it yet, will feel like you're actually really involved in Frosthaven, building up and constructing buildings and crafting things and all sorts of things like that. So yeah, I think they're probably the key differences. Is that what you tell people when people say what's the differences?
I think as far as like the scenario goes, there's new characters, new character rules.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the characters have a lot more interesting things that they do.
Yeah.
They break the mold a lot more.
Yeah.
But most of the game is outside of the scenario.
Yeah.
It's definitely the outpost.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
Building it up, getting attacked, defending it, winter, summer.
Yeah.
It's like adding. I can't think of a game with like a civilization game into Gloomhaven in a bit, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing is just more. It's like 50% more of everything.
Yeah.
Weight, cards, scenarios, components, plastic, everything.
Yeah.
It's just more.
But you're absolutely right. If you sit down and play a scenario, then apart from the few new conditions, that bit's the same.
Yeah.
Apart from the couple of tweaks to the rules, you won't really notice that much difference from playing Frosthaven to Gloomhaven to Frosthaven. But it's the Outpost phase that's the big new thing. And I you know, and when I knew a little bit about it, but it was only when I started working on the script for the video that I was like, oh wow, I've got like 10 pages of rules for the Outpost phase. Okay, this is going to be a big section of the video just covering all of the different things that can happen in the Outpost phase. But it's that Outpost phase that I'm finding exciting. Because playing a scenario of Gloomhaven is good, but it's all of the stuff outside of that as Julian says, we want to bring back those 3 wood and that 2 metal, and then upgrade the blacksmith to level 1. Oh right, we've upgraded the blacksmith to level 1. What does that mean? Oh well, add these new items into the thing. Oh right, the blacksmith he's able to now make a sword. Great, and things like that. So it's that continual slow development and upgrade. Questions just coming about, are the scenarios more like Jaws of the Lion than Gloomhaven? I assume the scenarios are much more like the scenarios in Jaws and not all the same. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those interesting things that I disagree with what a lot of people say about Gloomhaven. A lot of people have the opinion that a lot of the scenarios in Gloomhaven are the same because the goal is kill all monsters. And for me, even though the goal of the scenario is kill all monsters, every scenario felt very different. Apart from near the start of the Gloomhaven campaign, there were maybe 2 or 3 scenarios fairly close together which felt similar because it was the same monsters. But other than that, all of the other scenarios that we've played have been very, very different. So even though the scenario says kill all monsters, that doesn't mean that scenario will play out very differently. So for me, I felt that the scenarios there was a lot of variety. Did I think the scenarios in Jaws of the Lion were better? I actually did. I felt that the scenario design from Jaws of the Lion was better, and having seen some of the scenarios from Frosthaven, I think Isaac has improved the quality of the scenarios generally. I think he's made them more interesting. And one of the other things with Frosthaven is that there's a lot of guest designer scenarios as well, one of which I designed, and I know people are going to hate it. Because the scenario that I designed has certain things in there that is punishing for the players. So if you are somebody who's backed Frosthaven, and when you get Frosthaven, if you get round to playing the scenario that I've designed and you don't like it, then my email address is Julian at send Julian all the messages of complaint and he'll forward them on to me. No, I wanted to explore a different design space that hadn't been done in any of the other scenarios, and I came up with an idea and I spoke to Isaac about it, and he said the players are going to hate this, and I said yeah. And I did it anyway. He made a couple of tweaks to make it a bit less punishing, but yeah, I mean the idea is that the rules that I've put in, the special rules for the scenario that I've put in, match the theme of the scenario. I think very well. And yeah, I won't spoil it because you'll get round to playing it at some point. Any other questions?
There was a question. I had a comment to add, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think one of the things that has been improved, there's a couple of pieces. So the narrative in general has improved a lot.
The writing.
The writing, and I think there's been a lot more professional writing, a lot more better storytelling.
Yep.
It's more intertwined. It's more engaging.
Okay.
It's a lot better in that capacity. I think another thing that happened, which is kind of a side effect of hiring a cultural what's the word? Consultant. Yeah. Is a lot more of the world building. I know that the world has a name now.
Right.
I don't remember what it is.
Okay.
I was told it's public, but
the world has a name.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is building out as a consequence of all these things that are happening.
Right.
It is definitely more engaging and immersive.
Okay. I mean, Gloomhaven, I think Isaac wrote most of that himself, if not all of that himself.
No, I think, yeah, definitely. And
yeah.
I think starting with Jaws, there were some more people kind of participating and giving, buffing it up, let's say.
Yeah.
And then this one, it's even more.
Right.
I haven't actually looked at any of it.
Right.
But I've been talking to Chris.
Yeah, and he knows.
Yeah, so Chris has been playtesting the PPC copy,
yeah.
Looking for bugs and trying to spot all this
right.
stuff. And he's been telling me as much spoiler free as possible.
Yeah.
And I am so mad because I just want to steal the copy and go home and play it. But
yeah,
I know they'll send a man after me.
Yeah. Steve's got a good question. How will we know who wrote which scenario? It's printed at the top of the scenario. Yeah, I think he says guest design scenario by such and such a person.
It was similar in Gloomhaven. There were guest scenarios in Gloomhaven as well.
Yep.
They were listed at the top.
Yep.
Let me find the question.
Steve Randall, what are the most played games at Essen? I mean, I can tell you what the big buzz hot games are by just talking to other people. So Flamecraft has been getting a lot of love, and Flamecraft has been selling. Woodcraft has been getting a lot of love. Lacrimosa has has sold out as well, so that's getting a lot of buzz. Starship Captains from CGE has been getting a lot of buzz. Revive has been getting a lot of buzz. There's no surprise to any of these. These are games which, when we did the live show just before Essen, these were the games that we knew were going to get a lot of buzz and a lot of attention, and they have. There's lots of other games as well. I mean, I've mentioned those few. There are other games out here being released at Essen that are getting an equal amount of buzz, but Essen's huge. If you've never been to Essen, it's just ginormous. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 halls, all of them packed full of stuff. Hundreds, thousands of games coming out, and everywhere you look, there's new games. So there's no way that any one person can tell you all of the new games and all of the hotness list. If you're watching anybody else's social media feeds from anybody else who's at Essen, they're probably talking to you about a dozen other games that I've not even heard of. And that's just the nature of the hobby now. There's so many new games coming out.
And it's also like, if you have a niche, you know, you're in that niche, and there's enough happening in there. Like, I've been looking at a lot of the puzzle games,
right?
Turing Machine,
yeah.
You know, all the ones that are stacked right next to you, actually, and in my bag. There's
Spaceship Unity.
That one's more of a narrative campaign of story. Yeah, I got a copy of Scout.
You got a copy of Scout. Yeah.
Oh, and I grabbed all the pins for startups.
Yep.
They have those. I'm so excited to see them.
Right.
Super happy. I can't remember the other one. Let me find that question. It was something about whether you feel bad about not fitting in with like the people getting beer and football and all that, or whether you're like, screw it, I'm proud to be a geek.
Oh God, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So it's a negative feeling when I'm in that situation with those people, because I know I don't fit in. Do I feel bad? Would I want to fit in? No. You know, do I think, oh, I wish I could fit in and talk about football and drink beer and all of, you know, this lot? No. And I'm 52 years old now. I've passed that point. And I think maybe there might have been a time in my life where I felt, oh, I'm not fitting in. Maybe I should make more of an effort to fit in. But now at 52, I know where my home is. I'm happy with my life. I'm not going to change that now. And because my job is sitting at home and doing board game stuff, I'm not in that environment where I'm going out with people from work and not able to talk to them about anything. So, yeah, I'm comfortable with where I am, and I'm not going to make any changes of that at all anymore.
Yeah, I think just chiming in.
Yeah.
I think for me, in the moment when that was happening, when I felt left out, I felt excluded, I felt like I didn't belong. It didn't feel super great. You know, reflecting on it now, it was character development, right? It's building who I am, and it's pushed me to find the things that I like and the people that are into the things that I like.
Yeah.
It's at the time I hated it. Now I appreciate the fact that it happened, and I wouldn't change it.
I think I can appreciate it now because of nights like tonight. The fact that I have so many people around me, and very, very often, not physically next to me, but, you know, when I'm doing live streams, like now, 93 people watching this apparently, but when I'm doing my live streams of my playthroughs, I know that everybody watching the playthrough is on the same wavelength as me. And that's my home, and that's my friends that I surround myself with. You know, I'm not one of as I've always said, I'm not a presenter. I'm not a personality. I don't have much charisma as it was to do these things. I'm just a guy who likes playing board games, and I'll live stream me playing board games because I'm passionate about it and I enjoy it. And the fact that people watching it are equally as passionate about board games as me, then that's it. Yeah, I think. Yeah. How much do I pay for therapy sessions? Because this is good.
Yeah, asking the right questions to really get you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There was another question. Are you picking Flow War?
Flow War was on my list, so thank you for reminding me. I need to sit down tonight before I go to bed and make a list of all of the ones that I haven't yet picked up. So Flow War looked really interesting. We covered this on the pre-Essen show, and this was really, really embarrassing because we went through some of the games that had the most thumbs, and we got to Flow War, and I was like, okay, I don't really know much about this. It looks quite pretty. Oh, and it's by a couple of designers. I don't recognize these designers' names. I'm not sure who they are. And then the reason why it's embarrassing is not only do I know the designers' names, but they are the same designers as Red Cathedral. And the reason why it's embarrassing is every time I mention one of their games, they reach out to me and say, Paul, we love your stuff. Thank you so much for covering our games. We're really happy about it. And then on the live stream, I went, I don't know these designers. So apologies for that. And basically, based on the fact that this game looks pretty, simply looking at the iconography, looking at the graphic design, and knowing it's from the designers of Red Cathedral, put it high on my radar. I sent them an email probably on the Sunday before I came to Essen and said, hi, my name's Paul Grogan. You probably have never heard of me, but yada, 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 yada. And I didn't hear back, probably because they were in a car on the way to Essen at the time. But I need to go by the booth, introduce myself, tell them what I do. And yeah, I'm very interested in it. And that is on my list of games that I would like to pick up if I can before I leave. So, yeah.
Not any questions, but a couple comments that I think just nice to hear. Mitch Ben would say we have found our tribe.
Yes.
Board games, SF, computers, whatever. A lot of other positive things. You know, you're a role model, empowering geeks. Don't change.
Oh, God, me a role model? No.
Authenticity is the new charisma. And then now a question: any opinion on Oranjeburger Canal or Tindaya?
So Oranjeburger Canal is from Spielworks. It's an Uwe Rosenberg game. I know very, very little about it. Tindaya, I have a copy of Tindaya. I covered it on the channel. I did 2 playthrough videos. I did a multiplayer playthrough video, which was the competitive version, and I did a solo playthrough video as well. So I really liked Tindaya. And as I say, I covered it on the channel. I've received a final copy of the game, and I've got a number of my Patreon supporters that backed the game, and they've been playing it recently as well. So yeah, I really liked Tindaya, and that's another thank you for the reminder, because I need to go by the Tindaya booth, because he sent me a message a week ago and said, please come by the booth and say hello again. Yeah, I need to. I've seen the booth, I just haven't had a chance to pop in and do it. So yeah, I think Tindaya is a solid game. And I know there's one train of thought in board games that if a game comes out that has a cooperative mode, a competitive mode, and a solo mode, there are some people who are turned off by that because they think, well, surely the designer should actually pick which one they want to use and just make that game. And by offering all of these different modes, it kind of sends out a message that the designer doesn't really know what they want the game to be. I disagree with that, and Tindaya is a classic case of that. The competitive mode of Tindaya works very well. The cooperative mode of Tindaya works very well, and the solo mode of Tindaya works very well. That game, the core mechanisms of the game can be tweaked ever so slightly to be either competitive or cooperative. And I think that's a great thing, because you have basically opened up the reach that your board game has. If you only play cooperative games, you can buy Tindaya and play it cooperatively. If you only play competitive games, you play the same game, but instead of you all trying to achieve a certain condition by the end of the game, you score points. And it's clever in the design that the action that you take in the multiplayer game that scores you points, in the cooperative game, either doesn't score you points, but it scores you something else as well. So Tindaya is a classic example where all of the modes for the game actually do work really well, and none of them feel tacked on, because that's one thing that I don't like, is when publishers go, oh, we've got this game, oh, wait a minute, solo modes are hot right now, right, let's get this solo mode and let's just force it in, even though it doesn't really work or fit, but now we can advertise that the game is now for 1 to 4 players instead of 2 to 4 players. I don't like that. And there's been a few of those where the solo mode has been forced on, or another mode has been forced on in order to help market the game and sell more copies of the game. And in those cases, it'd be like, no, just publish the game as it is. And a good example of that is CGE's new game this year, or one of the 2 new games this year, is Deal with the Devil. Deal with the Devil is a 4-player competitive game, full stop. It's exactly 4 players. You cannot play it with any less than 4. You cannot play it with any more than 4. It's a competitive game. There are no variable modes of play, and there's the game. And it unashamedly says, this is the game which is for exactly 4 players. It's competitive. Off you go. Because it is. The nature of the game is such that it cannot be adapted to any other modes, and it doesn't try to do that. Just be honest about your games. I mean, it's a marketing thing. You know, if I was a games publisher, I know that if I have a solo mode for the game, it will sell more copies. That is the reality of the situation. But as a gamer, I'm saying don't force a solo mode into your game when it doesn't fit, is what I'm saying. We're 50 minutes in.
That's not surprising.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But we should start wrapping things up. Is there any other final questions before we disappear?
There's an interesting one.
Okay.
Gloomhaven got vinyl stickers to try to make it resettable. Do you know if Frosthaven might get something to make the advent calendar thingy resettable? That's a good question, because I know that there is a removable sticker set, but
Yeah.
I don't know that it addresses the windows.
Well,
but it must.
I think you're still going to open the window. You're going to take the sticker out. But maybe the removable sticker system from Sinister Fish Games, they did the ones for Gloomhaven, so I assume they'll do this. Maybe it's...
I think they did their own for Jazz of Lion, though.
Okay. So, I don't know. Neither of us know the answer to that question, but if you were to ask Cephalofair Games on social media, maybe not for the next few days. Maybe wait till they get back.
I can try to find out tomorrow.
Or we can try and find out tomorrow. And if you're in the live Q&A tomorrow, ask the same question tomorrow. We'll try and find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Some mentions of Voidfall. A couple of people in the chat are mentioning Voidfall as having all of those modes, and it's great, and all of those modes work. So, yeah, so that's good. Am I picking up Harakiri Blades of Honor? Very, very unlikely. I've never heard of the game. And right now, I have reached the point where I don't want to now look at any other new games to bring back, because I've already brought loads back. Question from Will about Dorfromantik. Again, that's another one. I did see somebody with a copy of it. I have played the computer game. It was quite a nice computer game, but I don't have any plans to bring back Dorfromantik, the board game. It's one that I might be interested in and have a look at, but yeah, again, just got too many games that I'm bringing back. Same with Kingdom Defenders. Not heard of that one, I'm afraid. And opinions on the new horrible guild game, Evergreen and the Great Spirit. All I know is that Luke Hector was playing Evergreen yesterday. That's it. I don't know much else about it, apart from he said that it was thematically very, very similar to Photosynthesis. But other than that, yeah, I don't know much about it. So, right, I think we're done. Thank you very much, Julian, again. Everybody thank Julian for helping me out with the chat and obviously being here. And yeah, we're done. The longest one yet. It doesn't feel like 52 minutes, but I'm going to say goodbye now. It's Friday. Tomorrow is Saturday. Saturday will be part 6, and then we leave on Sunday. Sunday, we're going to be leaving the halls at about 3 o'clock. Luke is going to be driving us home. We're going to get to Luke's house probably 10 or 11 o'clock in the evening, and that's when I'll be doing part 7. Part 7 will be the last part of this Essen video diary, unless I decide to do part 8 when I get home. We'll see, we'll see. But anyway, I'll be back tomorrow night, roughly the same time, definitely the same place, and I will see some of you then. Thank you very much to everybody who's popped in to keep me company tonight. And a big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for funding the channel. I haven't really mentioned the Patreon campaign in any of these live streams, but the reason why I do these live streams is, obviously, I do them public. There's lots of people watching. Thank you very much. But it's the Patreon supporters that give me the enthusiasm. It's not just the financial support from the Patreon. It's the enthusiasm and it's the drive. And to be honest, without the Patreon support, I'd probably just come back to the hotel room and go to bed. But I like doing these sorts of things. So yeah, big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for funding the channel. And if you like the content that I create and you want to support the channel, I normally say if you want to see more videos like this, you're not going to see any more videos like this because I'm not going to be coming to Essen until next year. But yeah, you can support me at patreon.com/gaming rules. Until tomorrow night, thank you very much for watching. Take care. I'll see you soon.